Hi, welcome to this video. This is going to be a short video on how I became Muslim, the short story. So, I was born and raised Christian. I grew up in a Christian home. My parents did not give me the option to decide what I believed in. That means that, they didn't educate me on other faiths. They weren't like, do you believe in God? It was just something that I was taught, and it was instilled in me from a young age. I said my prayers every night. We said grace when we sat down to eat. We went to church on Sundays. I went to Sunday school, Bible study, and I did all of the religious steps. I think that probably as my siblings and I got a little older, my parents were maybe overwhelmed. I'm not really sure. I've honestly never even asked my parents, why did we stop going to church? But I just always kind of assumed it's because life happened, we were busy, and we stopped going. So I would say, although I stopped going to church, I didn't stop believing in God, knowing that He is the person that created me, that's where I'm going when I die, and that He's like the presence, the creator. With that being said, my faith wasn't super developed. So what does that mean? It was I always say it's something I had and it was in my back pocket, and I was like, it's in there. Yeah, I believe. So as a young adult, believing in God but not going to church, I was not practicing my faith, and I was not really doing anything to learn or grow religiously or spiritually. I would say that I was more of a good vibes kind of person, do good, be nice to others, try and make good decisions, but my guidance came from my inner conscience, what I felt was right and wrong. Yes, inherently it was my upbringing, my education, my experiences, these kinds of things, but it wasn't because I was referring to a religious manual such as the Bible. I always felt the Bible was really confusing, probably why I never picked it up to read it and learn. If I ever did have a question, I probably never even had a question that I was like, I'm gonna look that up and see, because it just was not on my radar at all. So I would say I really didn't have any idea of what Islam was. I didn't know any Muslims, and I met my first Muslim. So what happened? I did not know this person was Muslim right away. It was something that just kind of unfolded, and as I got to know them a little bit more, and I was like, oh, why are you always up so early? Oh, you pray. Oh, okay. And then once they put it out there that they believed in the same prophets as Christianity, such as Jesus, Moses, Abraham, Noah, Adam, peace be upon them all, it really made me what? There's another religion that has all of the same prophets that I believe in? And that was really shocking for me, because I was like, how is that possible? I always assumed, I think, that everything other than Christianity was so different. I really didn't even realize that kind of thing existed. So what this did is it inspired me to kind of go on Google and say, what is the difference between Christianity and Islam? How come they have the same prophets and the same stories? How can this be? The more that I looked into it, the more I learned about Christianity, the more clarification I got about my religion, and the more it made me realize there was another prophet after Jesus, peace be upon them both. And ultimately what happened is, as I got to know Christianity and I got to know Islam, I started to see them as one and the same, like sisters, the same thing. It's the same God, it's the same people, it's the same stories. I know there are discrepancies, so I'm not saying it's exactly the same thing, but what I'm saying to me is it was really shocking to find out I was not supposed to be eating pork. I was not supposed to be drinking alcohol. I was not supposed to be showing my skin and dressing immodestly as an actual believing Christian. So that kind of shocked me, and I was like, oh, wow, I had no idea. Oh my gosh. So it's then it kind of put it in the position where it's well, if I'm a believing Christian, then I ought to be doing these things. And then the second question that came to me was, really, how do I know if Muhammad, peace be upon him, was real? I don't. How do I know if Jesus, peace be upon him, was real? I don't. How do I know if Adam was real, peace be upon him? I don't. It's called faith. For me, I thought about it and I was like, if I choose not to accept the last and final messenger of God, isn't that the same as somebody of, let's say, the Jewish faith saying Jesus wasn't real? For me, as somebody who loved Jesus and admired him, what I really loved is that he was just so kind and nice. And I remember one time I had this epiphany, and I was like, Jesus was original, lover. Like, he was probably so kind to people even though they were mean to him and they didn't believe him. And I just had this like respect for him, that like what he probably went through, and like all of the doubters and the haters, right? So as a Jesus lover and a Christian, I was like, that's terrible that the Jewish faith, they didn't believe in him. And that's, I'm not judging them, that's their right, but I was like, why not? Why not? And I thought, do I want to be somebody, like if Muhammad, peace be upon him, is real, do I want to be the person that's like, we don't believe in him? No, 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 no. And so for me, I decided I'm going to accept him, because I would rather err on the side of caution than the side of arrogance and ignorance. I think that one of the major deciding factors for me was realizing that the things that Islam forbids, such as pork, alcohol, fornication, these kinds of things, were also forbidden in Christianity. Realizing that it was the same practices, that why are we villainizing the latter religion but not the one that everybody loves so much? Why is there a double standard? So really, for me, truly, as I learned Christianity, the more it opened me up to truly become a Muslim. Because I believe that God sent all of his messengers to remind us. Why did he send Jesus? To remind us when we were acting crazy. Why did he send anybody he sent to as a reminder for information to us when we were acting crazy? Because a man is in a constant state of crazy, lost. Really, right? So I kind of took a look at that. I decided, yeah, I believe in Muhammad, peace be upon him. It was so similar to my beliefs already. I felt in a lot of ways I was already practicing Islam, so I just was like, yeah, I believe in Muhammad, peace be upon him. And it came down to the answers for the Shahada. Do you believe in the oneness of God? There's only one God? I was like, yes. Do you believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the last and final prophet? Yeah. So you're Muslim. And I was like, okay, I'm Muslim. So I did my Shahada. It's been 3 years. I've done a lot of learning, growing, loving, living, glowing, crying, all sorts of things. I've had a lot of life in the last 3 years. And I can say the number one thing I have in my life that I love is being a Muslim. So if you are considering this and you are wondering if it's right for you, I just want to say, answer the question. Do you believe there's only one God and it's just God? Just him created everything? And do you believe that he sent all of the prophets, the last of which is Muhammad, peace be upon them all? If you say yes and yes, you're Muslim. Congratulations. Do your Shahada. Don't be afraid. Believing in God is a beautiful thing, and true guidance comes from him. If you're feeling that and you woke up today, you're blessed. Follow it, live it, learn it, love it. I love you guys. Thank you for watching.